Hey everyone, this is Music Tech Help Guy, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create some awesome horn beats that sound pretty realistic and have multiple articulation styles using all stock plugins in Logic Pro. So let me show you a quick example of what I'm talking about. I want to show you how easy this is to do in Logic Pro. So to start, I just have a drum beat here I built in Drum Machine Designer using the step sequencer. Sounds like this. I'm going to go ahead and mute that for now. And I've got two different horn ideas. I've got sort of like a low baseline idea, I guess you'd call it, and then some sort of accent parts. So there's actually two different instruments we can use here, and I like using a combination of both of them. So let's mute this top idea. Let's just start with this bottom idea here. So what I'm going to do is load up the Studio Horns instrument in stereo. And if I click here, there are different sections. So I'm going to go with the Soul section. And if I play this as is, it's all one playing style. It sounds like it's all just sustained long tones. So with Studio Horns, you can very easily create editable articulation sets by selecting the track, showing the track inspector here, and then down at the very bottom where it says Articulation Set, click on that, and then just select New. There are some presets down here for Studio Horns and Studio Strings, but I'm just going to select New. And what you'll see is another dialog pops up showing each of the articulation styles. So each one of these is a different playing style that's programmed into this plugin. So you don't have to just use a sustained playing style. So for example, if I select these notes, I selected all of them, and over here you'll see this menu pop up. This is articulation. You'll see all of those articulations from that dialog from before. So let's say I want all of these notes to be staccato. So it sounds like this instrument can't play this low C, but it can play that low D there. And that's totally fine. I'll just mute that note for now, because we're going to reinforce that with another instrument in just a bit. Now, some of these notes, I probably don't want them to be staccato. So I'm going to choose a few notes here. These top notes, I'm going to make it go da-da. Instead of da-da, I'll make it go da-da. So sustained, then staccato. So with those selected, I'll just go down to my articulation sets, make those sustain. I think all of these, I'm going to make these sustained as well. Let's see what that sounds like. Now let's reinforce this with some low brass, because the Studio Horns instrument is more of like a high, medium brass instrument. I want to reinforce this with some tubas and some low trombones. So I'm going to duplicate this track. I'm going to call this one high brass, and I'll call this one low brass. I'm going to duplicate this region down. And on this one, instead of using Studio Horns, I'm actually going to use the sampler instrument. Now, a lot of people already know that you can select articulation sets for Studio Horns and Studio Strings, but some people don't know that you can actually do this with a lot of sampler instruments. So if I go down to Factory, and then go to Orchestral, and then I'll go to Brass, and there's a full brass section here, legato, staccato, full brass, and then there's full brass plus. All these ones that say plus are ones that have multiple playing styles within them, so they have multiple articulation sets. Not as many as you'd get with Studio Horns and Studio Strings, but enough to get the sound we're looking for. So I've selected the full brass plus instrument here. I'm going to go ahead and give this a icon as well, with like a tuba, trombone. There we go. And for this one, I'm going to pull back in these low notes. And let's actually mute the high brass for now. Now, the thing is, we can't use the same articulations here as we did for Studio Horns, because it's a different instrument. So while you have this track selected, go over to the articulation sets here, click None to turn it off, and then you can just click New. It'll show you there's just two of them, legato and staccato. And then if I go back in here, you'll see I have legato and staccato. So I'm just going to select the notes that I want to be legato, which is the first of these two short notes, and then each of these notes on F here. So those will be legato, and then everything else will be staccato. So I'm just going to select those notes. And one thing that's great about using articulation sets is you don't have to create multiple tracks. Before I understood what articulation sets were way back in the day, what I was doing is actually creating multiple tracks, one for the staccato playing style, one for the legato playing style, and it would take forever to compose something like this. But now with articulation sets, it makes it super easy to select the articulation set on a note-by-note basis. Now what I'm going to do, because this is low brass, I'm going to duplicate this down an octave. So just hold Option, drag it down an octave. And then with the high brass in. So let's go to part 1. So this is going to be the high brass accents. Thinking of this like a high trumpet part, a high sax part that's got some, just sort of cool accents in it. So I'll give this an icon here. And for this one, because I want a lot of different playing styles, I'm going to load up studio horns again. And this time I think I'll use the R&B section. I'm just trying to mash up some different sample sets so it doesn't all sound the same. Okay, so let's see what this sounds like with all these notes just using the sustained playing style. Probably not too interesting. So all of these short notes, these are all going to be staccato. So select all of those. I'm just holding Shift, by the way, to select multiples. We'll make those all staccato. Some other really cool playing styles in here. One in particular is the shake. I'm going to put a shake on these two notes. And then here I'll make this like a fall. Since I'm starting kind of high and then going down to some lower notes, let's put a fall in there. Fall long. Let's see what that sounds like so far. One thing I need to do is I need to turn off this auto voice split option. That's going to keep me from having this limited range that I'm running into. So now I think this top note should sound now. Let's make these a long fall as well. And then this note, I'll make it a duet. You'll hear what this sounds like. Okay, I'm going to make this one expressive medium, and I'm going to make this note the duet, or the doit, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do is because I changed the other one, I turned off that auto voice split. I'm going to do the same thing for this brass track, and I think that'll actually solve the issue here with that low note. I think that'll work out much better. Okay, so let's hear what all these sound like together with the beat in. So the only thing that's really left to do is to add some reverb just to make these brass instruments not sound so dry. So I'll just create an effect send. I'll go to bus 1. I'll just call this Hall Verb. I'll load up Space Designer on here. And I'll choose sort of like a shorter, large hall. I'll go with this soft hall here. I'm never a big fan of brass in big halls, especially this style of playing. It's too much reverb, but let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, that sounds much better. So the reverb's really helping. I accented the low brass, a bit more of some low end, like a low end boost here, just to bring out the fundamental a bit. But yeah, that's it. With these articulation sets, it's really easy to do. And go through Sampler and explore some of these instruments. Any of these instruments that have a plus sign next to them have multiple articulation sets that can be accessed. So if you're not a beat writer, maybe you're more of like a scoring kind of person, you're looking for an orchestral setup, you can actually use some of these articulation set instruments to create some realistic orchestral sounds as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. As always, thank you for the support, and thanks for watching.